Global Broadcasting Networks presents Coach Talk Radio. Create the time, money, and lifestyle you want with tips, tricks, and techniques that get you started today from some of the best internet minds in the business. Now here are your hosts, Internet Brand Strategist Sandra Beck and Marketing Director for TogiNet Radio, Scott Frazier.
Hi, and welcome to Coach Talk Radio. This is Sandra Beck, and I'm here with Scott Frazier. And today we're going to talk about the power of internet radio. We're going to talk about blowing through the nose to get to the yeses, and we're going to visit today with Kimberly Rinaldi of Lessons in Joyful Living. Scott, we're going to have a great show today.
We're looking forward to it. Sandra, thank you. And Kimberly, I know you'll be joining us in a minute. It's great to have you on board, and we're looking forward to getting into some really meaty ideas and subject matter about how to grow your reach when it comes to Internet Talk Radio.
You know, Scott, it's such a great opportunity for people, and we're going to share some of the best tips, tricks, and techniques for authors, coaches, speakers, for entrepreneurs. So people are going to want to listen to this because it's real, practical information that's going to translate into dollars in their pocket. Less time, more money. Everybody else out there is struggling with time. I know I'm struggling with time, but I find that the use of internet radio for my business has allowed me to reach more people and to bring more money into my pocketbook without a whole lot more effort. And that's something that we're going to talk about today too. But before we get into that, I'd like to bring on Kimberly Rinaldi. She has an enterprise called Lessons in Joyful Living. Kimberly, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Good morning, Scott and Sandra. Thank you for having me on today. It's a pleasure to spend time with you and to share my experience with internet radio. And I have to tell you, before we even get into this, if somebody had asked me 3 years ago, would you consider radio, my response would have been, no flipping way. And here I am 2 years later after launching, and I am sold, I am an advocate, and I am out there promoting the value of making this happen, not only for myself, but for other people as well.
So, Kimberly, tell us a little bit about yourself for our listeners who might not know about you and what you do.
Well, I'm a coach. I'm a success coach. That's sort of one of the aspects of what I do. And I work with people to help them break through whatever's holding them back. I have a background in neuro-linguistic programming, hypnotherapy, coaching, emotional freedom technique, a lot of different behavioral modalities. But what I found is, ultimately, and this really does speak to how internet radio has worked for me, I found that the life that you really want doesn't exist in your comfort zone, because if you're comfortable, you're already doing it. The life that you really want, the life that you really desire, the success, the changes, the impact exists just outside your comfort zone. And that's what internet radio has done for me. It's helped me to step outside my comfort zone and make a difference not only in my life, but in the lives of the people that I'm touching, which is now millions on a monthly basis.
So, Kimberly, would you say that you've expanded personally as well as professionally with respect to the ability to communicate your ideas and to establish yourself as a professional?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I've got 25 years of training and training trainers under my belt, and I'm good at what I do. But what I tell people is I'm also an introvert, and people find this hard to believe when I can, stand up in front of hundreds and get on the radio in front of millions monthly. I'm an introvert. I spent years working at being obscure because I didn't want to step out into what we will call the limelight. And what I've found is stepping out of that comfort zone, and it isn't scary because, honestly, like sitting here talking with you and Scott, it's a phone call. I'm on one-on-one with both of you, and I get the benefit of that intimate conversation, that sharing, and then we get to share that conversation out to the world. So it made me realize that comfort zone wasn't a giant 100-foot cliff leap that I had to take. It was just merely maybe a 1-degree directional change. And this has led to, and I want to share with you, 6-month quarters were not unusual for me. After launching the radio show, I've had six-figure months rather than six-figure quarters. I'm filling events. I have people calling, looking for me versus me having to do so much promotion and marketing. I'm now a sought-after speaker, author, and person of interest.
Well, okay, let me jump in, Kimberly. That's an interesting point because we've heard that here at TogiNet with different hosts, even their guests. What do you think is the aspect that has opened those doors up? I mean, what part of this that through your communication through the internet, what opened those doors just because you had an internet radio show?
A couple of things: exposure and consistency. We have really good exposure with the programming, and we provide consistent, quality information. And so much of marketing is no longer standing on the street corner spinning that sign saying, hey, come look at this. Hey, come listen to this. It's, we have a product. We are, and the show being the product, we are promoting it. But
did we lose her? Sounds like
we did.
I think we did. And what I'll do is I'll fill in to where I think she was headed, but because I found the same truth in what she's saying. I come out of the advertising world, and it used to be that the media, the large media, TV, newsreels, radio, magazines, we controlled the communication. And with the advent of the internet and the web and emails, now internet radio, the shift is now going to the voices of people, to the consumer. To those that want to use their voice to communicate to people, having a radio show. So I think that is a big strength that we allow people to have, that allow them to communicate their passion, and we can we gather so much more information about a person by hearing their voice as opposed to reading blogs. And we have a lot of hosts that have their own internet radio show and they're blogging, but there's something about the voice that allows us to really communicate a lot more clearly.
Well, Scott, I think there's an authenticity. We'll continue on while they work on getting Kimberly back. There's an authenticity that can't be denied. When you're speaking, people listen to your word choice. They listen to the tone of your voice. There's a million cues that come across that really let us know if you're for real or if you're not. And when you interview people, you can really get a sense of who they are, especially in a talk radio arena where you might be on for half an hour or 45 minutes with someone. It's really hard if they're not knowledgeable, if they're not good at what they do. Now, they may not be the best talker in the world, but that makes for interesting, fun radio. But you can get the heart, you can get at the meat of somebody listening to them in an interview.
That's right.
So, Kimberly, when you left us for a minute because you had some issues with electricity, which happens in live radio. I mean, this is typical of a live radio show. You lose your guest, they come back on, you kind of roll with it, but it's not the end of the world. I think a lot of people think, I'm going to use internet radio for my business. I have to be perfect. I always have to be on the ball. And we have had barking dogs. I did a show with a lady in Oregon and the train kept going by. Well, this is live radio. This is part of it. So you just kind of roll with it. What about you on your shows? Have you had some times where you had some funny things happen to you while you're on the air with guests?
Oh, yeah. I was rolling back in my office chair and didn't realize my backside was precariously tipped on the edge, flipped the chair over, ripped the phone out of the wall. And what you hear is this crash, thump, giggle, and then dead airspace. Our producers got a hold of me immediately on the cell phone. I'm laughing. I tell people, you know what? That's part of the fun, if you will. And for those who get really worked up about, wanting pristine airtime, I tell them, goodness gracious, go to YouTube and search network news bloopers. When you have human beings and technology put together, you're going to you're going to have little snafus.
Even the professionals, right?
Exactly. Even who we perceive as the biggest names in the industries have these snafus. Milton Erickson is the father of modern hypnotherapy, if you will. And what he used to teach was about basically it's utilization. Utilize what your environment offers. So when something funny happens, we don't gloss over it. We don't try and deny it happened. It's, how do you utilize that in the conversation? And you get to be a much better speaker by being able to handle it and roll with it. So, perfect example.
I got to give you guys a good one, Scott. I don't even know if you know this, because this, I think, predates you with my, 5 years on the air here. I had flown in and I had a show scheduled, and I had guests that I could not reschedule. These were military guests from the Pentagon, and my plane was late, and I'm sweating bullets. I get in the car. I get off of I live in Los Angeles, so I get out of LAX. I'm on the freeway. I pull over in Burbank because there's no way I'm going to get home. I rig up my equipment in the back of my car. It's like 1,000 degrees out. I'm parked in a residential neighborhood, and I'll find the episode. It's a great one. And I'm pulled over. I got everything wired up. I'm connected. I'm broadcasting. I'm doing my job. And I'm parked in an illegal zone, not realizing it. And I look up from my window, and there's the police officer. And he's like, "What are you doing?" I guess some people had seen me with my equipment and doing my thing, and called the police. And so he's like, "You're not only in a legal zone," and I'm, here we're recording. I'm like, "Guys, I got to get off the air. There's a police officer here." And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I told him, and God bless him, he let me finish the show and then told me I had to leave after, and then went to tell some nervous lady who I was parked in front of her house what I was doing. She was convinced I was a spy.
And I think that is media today. Everything has become so sterile, whether it's a music track on a CD, over the last 20, 30 years, we want the best quality, and we forget that when it's live, people are interested in that. We want to hear that we're all normal and things happen to all of us. So live radio is what it is. So there we go. Let's get back to why Internet Talk Radio is important to us today, ladies.
Well, Kimberly, I think one of the things that I found is that it allows people to come to me, and I get to say yes or no if you're going to be on my show versus running around and chasing down people.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, it gives me, one of the things that I'm benefiting from and that I absolutely love is that I get to reach out to people who I have trained with, people I've seen lecture. These are big names in the industry, and they are now coming on the show. We're having conversations like this, one-on-one conversations, where I get to sit and ask questions, and I tell people I'm great at it because I have no boundaries, and frankly, I'm nosy. So I get to ask questions outside of, the standard 10 that they provide, and I really get that live interaction, and that is the thing that I'm hearing from our listeners that they love, is that they're getting this sort of fly on the wall perspective of these intimate conversations. And now I'm at the point where I have these names referring other people who are now seeking me out and wanting to be part of these conversations as well.
And these conversations become monetized. Like, for me, Kimberly, I'm a single mom with 2 kids, and, I got braces and dogs to feed and a mortgage. Like most people that are entrepreneurs, they're juggling family life and their business life. But what I like about it is that I can either reach out or I can talk to potential clients. I can position myself in a way, on the show to pitch my services, my business, all in the guise of an internet radio show, and get clients. It's a really great lead feeder.
It absolutely is. And the other thing that I want to point out is anybody who does events, putting butts in seats is paramount, and that is, I've heard over the last 10 years from so many people who have stopped doing events, it's one of the hardest things to do. I don't agree with that anymore. I have a very high-end women's retreat. I do it once a year. It's a very expensive seat. It's very exclusive. I filled it in record time. I filled it in 60 days. It used to take me a year's worth of speaking and coaching and, again, positioning myself to sell those seats. I filled it in 60 days because of the reach that I have.
Well, that comes down to content, which we in the internet world understand that it's all about the content. If you've got something good to say, if you're writing something, speaking in a way that the content is strong, it's powerful, people want that information. They'll find that information, and that's what we're offering and through a radio show. Absolutely.
Well,
Great
and let's
stuff.
talk about positioning, because Kimberly, you mentioned the word positioning, and I did a show yesterday with a company that does job placement and job hires in Minnesota, and he was talking about how important it is for everybody who's looking for a job to be on the internet, to be able to be found so people can check them out. And I took it one step further, going, well, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to be found by your customers, or you want to be included in things, or you want to position yourself as an expert, internet radio is a very popular, inexpensive, and fun way to position yourself. So I'm going to ask you, Kimberly, how did your internet experience with radio position you in a market to attract more people?
Frankly, it put me in front of people that I never would have been in front of. I live in a very small, secluded, cloistered community. It is an affluent community. I had a very successful practice prior to radio. I'm now reaching people that I wouldn't have normally reached. So that positioning exposure is huge. The secondary position of that is, as you said, even though I'm interviewing people, even though I have, and I'm on 5 days a week, even though I have those 5 hours of time and I'm sharing content and I'm having great conversations, I come from a marketing background. I come from a business background. I understand that every single one of those conversations is ultimately and I'm going to round the figures, 48 to 50, some minute commercial for whatever I want it to be. Whatever direction I want to lead that conversation in my business, in my programming, in the client's business, in the guest programming, it's ultimately, if it's done well, it's content-driven marketing. That's what the bottom line is here. That's what the infrastructure is, ultimately. And that's the thing that I don't think a lot of people are getting right out there. Wouldn't you agree, Sandra?
Oh, I agree completely. And, I think one of the things that you highlighted so eloquently was that, if it's content-driven marketing, as your content changes, if you're an author, a coach, a speaker, an entrepreneur, there's a real good chance that your content is going to grow and evolve and change as you grow and evolve and change. If I listen to my stuff from 10 years ago versus when I speak now, it's almost like a different person. We learn more. When we know better, we do better kind of stuff. But this allows you to expand and grow not only your reach, but to expand and grow your knowledge by interviewing people. But it allows, there's that freedom, sometimes in certain medias, like in the written word, it's kind of, you're kind of finite, unless you can do revisions of your book and send out different editions. The cool thing about internet radio is that it can grow along with you as you change and you expand. And, you may find yourself changing course in your business where, if you've got 2 or 3 different areas of expertise, like mine used to be high-end real estate marketing. Well, guess what? The bottom fell out of the real estate market, not a big use for it. So I was able to translate those skills over into different arenas because internet radio is very flexible. And Scott, I'd like you to talk a little bit about the flexibility of internet radio.
Boy, thank you. It's incredible. What we have put together here at TogiNet is a forum where we provide the producers, engineers, the studio time to take care of all the back end work. There's a lot of other opportunities out there, but when it comes to what Kimberly was talking about, quality content, that's what we're focused on is the best show, the best quality, the flexibility. We have very busy hosts, very busy coaches that are traveling, and so if they look at their calendar and they recognize that they're going to be at a conference for 3 days, they can either decide to do it in their hotel room, which we're flexible. If you have your laptop and or phone and Skype, we can take care of you. There are times where they can't make those adjustments. So we are flexible in how we will pre-record a show. It's live when somebody hears it. So we can do a pre-record and then schedule that into their time slot and play that for them. So their audience still gets the quality product that they're looking for, the content, the stories, at the time that's available to them. So between our team and our host, we will do what we can to take care of all the details. Now, what we experienced a little bit ago about glitches during the show, that happens. And so our engineers, our producers are waiting right there to take care of those glitches, put together a show and get it onto our website, our servers, make that available to our host within 30 minutes to 45 minutes on air. So we're doing a lot of work to make sure that these shows are clean, good sound, and good production.
Well, and that's what you see there's a lot of schlock out there. I'm just going to say it the way it is. There's a bunch of different companies. I'm not going to name them, but they're free or they're, $10 a month or $9 a month. And, you really get what you pay for. And I think you've got to really sit down and think about, if I'm using internet radio to position myself as a specialist, as an expert, as a professional, I really don't want to be getting my guest on the phone myself. I want a producer to do that. I want that service. I want that quality of sound. I mean, that's important to me when I put together anything that represents me or my business. Because the thing about internet radio is it's not only your business, but it's you, your likeness, and you matter. I matter. I want to sound good. Kimberly, what about you?
Oh, absolutely. You know what? And it brings to mind a conversation I had recently with somebody who, utilizing one of those, we shall say, lower cost options, this person was trying to sell me on the benefits of going to that option. And what they did was they ended up investing in a soundboard and equipment. And they were trying to get me to debate the value of their soundboard and equipment versus what our company uses. And they asked, and I said, you know what, here's the bottom line for me. I don't know, and I don't care. I'm not a tech specialist. I'm not a production tech. That's not my job. My job is to be on the radio and provide good content. I want to rely on the experts to do what they do. I want to show up and be able to do what I do. I don't want to be a one-man band. I don't want, chief cook and bottle washer. That was the beginning of my business experience many, many years ago. I don't want to do that now. I want professionals who are going to make me sound good, and that's their job. And, speaking back to the conversation where I ripped the phone off the wall, that was the live output. I have to say that my production team, when it went out for the recorded, optimized podcast, you would never have known other than when I came back and said, well, that was fun. That's what they left in.
Well, Sandra, did you actually record the policeman asking you to leave, or did we clean that up for you on your
Well, we cleaned that up because I didn't know him, and I didn't want him to see his LAPD officer fired, being on some broad's radio show. But when I wanted to comment back on what Kimberly was talking about, like with money hours and paying top dollar for poor quality results. Those are two things that I teach in my practice. One is we all have the same amount of hours in the day. So how many hours do we have to make money? And if we identify our work hours as our money-making hours, guess what? We make money. It's really simple. And then the concept of top quality or top paid work for poor quality results. I'm not a tech. Kimberly, you're not a tech. I mean, I'm a technology person, but I have no business dinking around with sound or any of this internet stuff. And I'm a tech person. So if I know I can't do it and I don't want to do it, why would I spend 3 of my money hours, meaning hours I could be making money, doing something else, because that's my job as an entrepreneur, to lead my company into making money. If I'm an author, I need to get book sales. And sitting around and dinking around with an Amazon-based mic and a tablet and your speakers and the software for 10 or 20 hours to figure it out, then you go, aha, look at how much money I saved. Well, it sounds like crap. You don't have a producer that comes in. And what did it really cost you? Well, it cost you a lot. It cost you much more than you would pay a company like TogiNet or Global Broadcasting Networks to professionally produce your show. And then you come on, you do your show, you talk to your guests, and then you get down to business, which is making money, making the sale, doing what you need to do to survive. Because when you put top quality work, which is what you're doing, your business, for poor quality results, because you're working not in your sphere of influence, you just lost yourself a whole lot of money, a whole lot of time. The losses are compounded. I can't express this enough, because I hate when I get invited to come on people's radio shows and I'm all excited and I look at their marketing, gee, it looks great. And then it's some rinky thing where they're like, hold on, let me connect you. I just got to connect the software. I just got to connect the mic. And I'm like, okay, amateur. And then I'm mad. And it actually does the opposite of what you want your client to feel, which is special, important, valuable, and to trust you. So Scott, I'm going to ask you what you've heard on, because you're kind of on the receiving end of all these radio hosts.
Well, and again, we're sort of talking about this yes/no thing, because we're contacted here at TogiNet weekly for people that have got a passion, they want to talk about something, and they want it. They don't want to spend any money, and so I ask them what do you want to accomplish with the radio show, and they just want to talk about sports. They like sports, so they want to have a show. And it gets down to trying to find those that are motivated, the true professional, those that understand they can make money off an internet radio show, and they want the quality of product that they want to invest in, and they look at the future. This is the future. This is a way to extend their voice. And they want a professional service to step into for us to take care of the back end stuff, and they can then focus on you're right, the money hours. What kind of content that can they create an outlay for and fit into their strategy and where they want to go in the future? And so our ability to provide that structure for them, they can forget about and not worry about all those details and focus on their content. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Whatever those weird sounds were came through, and all I could think about is farting. So there we go. I lost my train of thought there, Sandra. Pick it up and
there
take
you
it
go.
on.
All right. Well, I'm going to pick it up because, what you were talking about, like when you said, people call you all the time to be part of this. This is what happens when you're an entrepreneur, coach, or speaker, and you have an internet radio show. You get a lot of people coming to you for a lot of things. I've been asked to be a speaker, at national events. And, I'm always like, well, how much does it pay? Because realistically, we all need to eat. And I'm not coming out of pocket for some of this stuff if there's not, a ticket and hotel and a stipend. So you have to really be smart as a radio host with your opportunities, because people are going to want you to do things. They're going to want you to write forwards to books. They're going to want you to show up. They're going to want to interview you. And it's your job, just like it's your job, Scott, and it's your job, Kimberly, for your Lessons in Joyful Living Network, to get to the nose right away. Like, I like to get to the nose right away. This is something that I was taught in my old real estate career, and my coach harps on it. I want to find out if you have no money, no time, and no desire to do what I want you to do, then I'm going to blow through you. You need to blow through the nose to get to the yes, because you want to get to the people who have the money, who have the time, and who have the desire. It's a real simple formula. No money, no time, no desire. You blow through the nose to get to the yes, because the people who say yes, yes to money, yes to time, yes to want to do it, are really the only people you can work with. And Kimberly, when you monetize your Lessons in Joyful Living network, did you find in the beginning, like I did, that I was kind of coaxing people along? And then I got to the point where I'm like, look, you don't have the money, you don't have the time, you don't have the desire. I'll be happy to help you when you do. But for right now, I only have 24 hours in the day. I got to move on to somebody who's going to say yes.
I actually, I spent, I'll give you a little bit of background. I spent a handful of years in the insurance industry, and one of the things I did was I trained medical claims negotiators. The short story is we talked to healthcare providers and facilities about claims that were out of network that they were legally entitled to full rate on, and we negotiated reduced rates, reduced compensation. And the reason I trained people was one of the first things I did when I came in, and I came in, and within 6 months I became a trainer, was I sat them down and I explained, look, you make a lot of money on your yeses. What you have to learn is, and it's about a paradigm shift, it's about switching that perspective. You get paid a lot of money on those yeses, which means you make money working those no's and getting through them as quickly as possible. I'm not here to pull anybody into anything, push anybody through anything. As a coach, ultimately that person has to do the work themselves. And if you have to pull them through the sales process, is it a good match? Is it a good fit? The answer is no. You're going to be pushing them through every process. So start looking at it from that paradigm, that paradigm shift, which is you're optimizing your income by blasting through those no's, and just put the no's on the percentage board as I'm getting paid a lot of money to take those no's, and once I'm through them, I've got my yeses on the table.
Yep, it's so important, Kimberly. One of the things you talked about, with this like blowing through the nose is that, there's the opportunity cost. What does it cost you to wade through the nose? It costs you a lot of time and money. And if you have to lead people through whatever transaction it is, whether it's somebody's coming on your show and it's a sponsored ad, it's a sponsored position, Scott, if they're for you, if they're a radio host coming through, it's like if you get even the tiniest, I call it the commission breath and stink, as soon as I get the stink that people don't want to pay or get the stink that people don't have the time, I can always say, like, can you afford not to? Can you afford not to do these things? You have time to talk to me. Why don't you have time to do this? I could argue with people, and I love to argue with people on that kind of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, it takes my time. And I only have so much time and energy. Scott, when you guys built the Global Broadcasting Networks and TogiNet Radio, did you find that, weeding through the nose quickly helped your business?
Yes, it did. It did. Because, again, as we're providing the best quality, top quality programming, we want to find the people that have the content, to have the voice that want to be able to communicate their message. Again, a lot of people just talking about sports doesn't work. How are you going to make money off of that? And that is the point that we offer people, is a way of monetizing their voice and turning that around, whether it's selling their ad space. There's a lot of different formulas that we have found to help people find a way to monetize their show and to make money off of it. You're right. Whether it's an hour a week, if somebody's investing 3 or 4 hours in preparing a show, those are hours that can be monetized and then turn around and create an income to support themselves, their family, and to do some things that they want to do, which is continue to grow and continue to grow their business. So, yes, it's absolutely a sifting process to find those that are partially interested. And we've had people that have had a show for a year. They've decided that they're going to go a different direction. They come back to us 3 or 4 months later and say, We went a different direction. It was a low cost way of creating a show, and we found it just didn't work. And so we want to come back to TogiNet. We want you to step back up and take care of our show. And we've seen lots of people in the last 2 years come back after a venture into another land, and what we're providing is a much stronger product than what they were finding other places. So, yes, Sandra, that works both ways. Absolutely.
Well, and I'd like to weigh in on, when you said, there's like a lot of low-cost alternatives for a show. I would like to open this segment of a conversation and talk about the show is only one part of your radio career or your radio lead generating, money generating process. Everybody thinks the show. Yes, absolutely. We've got to have content that's good. Okay. We get that. You got to have good content. If you don't have good content, you're dead in the water. But you have to have good production value, which means you've got to present yourself to the public, with a professionally produced show. And that is part of that internal customer service that we talk about. How do you handle your clientele when they come in? Do they feel like it's a white glove service, a turnkey service, or you selling them, some corn out of the back of your trailer? There's a big difference in that perception. But also when you get your show is just a marketing object, what Kimberly called it, like it's content marketing. It's an object. So you don't stop at the show. What you do then is you take your show and you blast it through social media. You blast it through the internet. You allow viral marketing to take over and really take your show and propagate its listeners. So it's a 3-step process for people when they're thinking about having a show. Most people, when they think about having a show, think about, what am I going to say? What am I going to talk about? What am I going to call it? And I'm just like, God, that's just like one part of 5 essential parts for success. And one of the things that you do really well, Scott, at your company is you walk people through that whole process. You go to one of these cheapie stations or some of these do-it-yourselfer things, you're going to have to figure this out by trial and error. And maybe you do and maybe you don't.
Well, and let me address that. Yes, we have a very strategic training process. It's sort of like we live here in East Texas, and if I want to go to Dallas, I know that I can get on I-20 and go west, and I'm going to hit Dallas in an hour and a half. But if I decide to take a trip to Yellowstone, I know it's northwest here someplace, so I'm just going to jump on the freeway and starting down northwest. I don't know where I'm going to hit. So what we do is when people come to us and they have a desire, we go through a sifting process, a questionnaire, to find out if they really understand their content and what they want to communicate. And when they've able to go through that application process, that sifting process, they have good content, then if they decide to sign up, and we have a very flexible schedule, most people want an hour a week, and that's our natural traditional resource that we offer. 1 hour a week at a given time slot, week in and week out, 52 weeks of the year. We have other people that are very busy, and they decide to start every other week. So we have a different price tier for those. 2 different time frames. Then we take them through a very extensive training. If they have something to say, have they outlined the first 12 shows, the first 24 shows? The next, the 52 weeks of the year? Do they have a strategy on what they want to say? Is that strategy, are they able to monetize that strategy? Does it fit their strategy of making money off of this, off of what they're speaking? So we go through a training process with them, and as we're going through that training process, we're also teaching them the term SEO. What is the optimization of what they want to be able to say through keywords? We've determined the best keywords for the content that they want to speak on, and we create a social media platform that we can push those messages and help grow and extend their voice. Now, we just have finished this process, and Kimberly, you started this, and I don't recall how long ago you started your optimization process, social media. How long ago was that? And then where did you take that, and where do you stand today?
I launched my programming on in January of 2013, and we closed the month with a dismal 81 downloads for the month. And using training and other tools and partnering both with Togi at that time and some other options, within 90 days I was at 10,000 downloads. 6 months I was at 20,000 downloads a month. And then that's when I got the crazy idea to go 5 days a week. At the year mark, we were at about 50,000 downloads a month. Then we launched in our own direction as our own network at the 18-month mark, and just before the 24-month mark, the month before we were 2 years on the air, we broke the 1 million download per month mark. So we are over 1 million downloads monthly now. And
that's the kind of strategy, social media strategy that we've been able to partner with and be able to push the message and guarantee somebody's success. That's a hard thing to believe, that we can guarantee someone's success, but through the right training and the right social media push, we can extend somebody's voice to 100,000, 500,000, 1 million. We hit 10.5 million podcast download in January through organizing this system, and we're excited to be able to offer not only the ability to produce a quality show, to train someone to really know what this is capable of doing for them, but to guarantee that we can reach millions of people out there with the right content. So, yes.
And I'd like to address that one point even further. It is the optimized podcasting. We are putting the emphasis in the right direction, as shown through how you're training and what you're doing. And honestly, you're talking about navigating those waters. These things aren't being taught out there by anybody else. I know this. I'm out there picking people's brains. I go to conferences at least once a month. I'm traveling because I'm always looking to invest in myself. So I'm talking to people who are out there with their shows, and I do pick brains, and I'm nosy, and I have no boundaries. So I'm asking what they're doing, and they're just falling short time and time again. I want to bring everybody on board with you guys.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Well, you need to kind of have your own nerd patrol. I'm just going to say it the way it is. You can make a great show. You can, and Scott, I've always said to this, you can make a great show and do a beautiful recording, and you can have the best content in the world, but if nobody hears it, you might as well be a pretty girl sitting in the middle of a cornfield. Then I look at some of this internet radio, and it's not very good. It really isn't, but it's everywhere, and that's the ugly girl that stands on Hollywood Boulevard out here looking for a date. Well, who's going to get a date, the girl in the cornfield or the girl on Hollywood Boulevard? What you want to do is you want to be the pretty girl on Hollywood Boulevard, and that requires you to have your own team of nerds. And that's one of the things that, TogiNet has within their sphere of influence. If they've got, a couple people who live and breathe this stuff, they get up in the middle of the night and they figure out how to get more podcast downloads. How do they get indexed in this search engine? And again, if you want to do that in the middle of the night and be a radio host, go ahead. Good luck with that. But your money hours and your time well spent and how you can produce those results, good luck with that. If you can do it, God bless you, more power to you. But the smart entrepreneur is going to put their money on a company that has these systems in place.
And that's right. And I'm going to jump in as a commercial break and say, if you're looking for a professional live internet radio produced network, TogiNetRadio.com is the place to search for. The phone number here to reach me, to reach our team, is 903-787-5880. 903-787-5880. That's TogiNet. That is a place of quality. we've got a couple of people on staff, and we ask our hosts from time to time, what do they think of our services? We want to find out how we're doing, and everybody just worships a couple of our people, all of our people. But we keep hearing we've got the best quality, we've got the best customer service. We'll answer the phone call, we'll answer the emails. If there's a panic, people at the last minute are cut off in traffic and have to pull over and record a show, we're going to do whatever we can to take care of their needs and make sure that they're able to get their message out there on a timely basis. So that's the wonderful side of what we get to do.
Well, and I can give you an endorsement, Scott. You've produced between my Military Mom Talk Radio, Motherhood Talk Radio, Powered Up Talk Radio. I've had a bunch of talk radio shows through you guys, still running some in syndication. You guys have produced over, I think, 600 hours of on-air programming for me personally, and then another probably 1,200 to 1,500 hours of quality on-air programming for my clients. And, the funny thing about my clients, Scott, is they don't leave. I refer my clients to you that need internet brand strategy, radio outlet ability, that you give them, and they run with it. And, it's an amazing thing to think you have, I don't know how many hosts, past and present, there's got to be hundreds, and how many hours of programming you've produced, because you guys are on the air, 24/7.
That's right. It's we have 8 to 10 hours of programming each day, and then we replay those at night. So what we're seeing is the downloads, and we have a very effective stat capability. We can see that the countries that are joining us and growing these voices. For some reason, we're getting a lot of desire and signed up a lot of hosts in Australia. So we launched our first intercontinental radio show. One host is in Amsterdam. The other one is in Western Australia. And let me tell you, it's pretty tough to find the best recording time for those two folks. So it's 7:30 our time. It's 3:30 in Amsterdam. It's 11 o'clock at night in Australia. So we can record those shows and reach people on the other side of the pond. So, yes, providing a lot of service out there.
Well, and the cool thing about this, Kimberly, and I don't know if you've seen this, this is really on-demand listening. The neat thing about this type of radio is that people can listen to it. They can put it on their electronic devices. They can stream it whenever they want. It's on demand when they feel like it. It's not like it airs and, everybody better tune in and listen to it or you're going to miss it. It's really pretty cool how that works. And when it propagates around the world, like I'm really popular in Germany, which I think is really funny. And I think it's because my last name is Beck. But when I go into Google and I type in my name, plus the podcast and DE, which is, the German handle for internet over there, it's amazing how much my stuff is there. And I didn't have to do anything. Kimberly, what's some fun things that you've noticed when your podcasts are released and optimized? What are some things that have happened with you with respect to showing up and popping up places?
One of the services I offer is in the metaphysical realm. I went through a period about a year ago where I was the number one psychic in Belgium. And no lie, it was about, a 6 or 8 week run. And all of a sudden I just start booking all of these people in Belgium for readings and past life regression and coaching. And I thought, what in the world? Are you all related? Do you all know each other? Is this because most of my business has been referral-based all these years. And when I finally, thought to ask someone, and they said, no, they Googled English-speaking psychic, English-speaking coach, and I was number one on Google in Belgium for several weeks. And I thought, that's hysterical. Belgium. Who knew?
But with PayPal, and with PayPal, you can run with clients globally.
Oh yeah, and I've been working internationally, and again, predominantly referral source, where their German cousin hears about me and the Australian sister-in-law, But yeah, to have hit Belgium like that in that time frame was actually it was kind of amusing for me. I was like, cool, I am hot in Belgium right now. But again, it's the ability to be heard internationally. It's the ability to impact people. This is where it touches my heart and really makes my soul sing, if you will. The ability to impact people's lives who you may never, ever even know. That is powerful. That is internet radio. And the on-demand, I'm on social media, and I have people tweeting and posting on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram, all of that. They're out taking their walks and listening to my shows. They're working out and listening to my shows. They're using my this one I love. They're using my shows while they're meditating or to fall asleep to. I don't know that I like that one, though. But, they're taking time out of their world and letting me impact them. That's just fabulous.
Scott, what would you say is the most common success stories you hear? Like the themes. What are the most common things you hear from your hosts?
Okay, there was some weird buzzing, and I lost the beginning of your question. We talk about live radio. Say the beginning of your question one more time.
Okay, I'm asking you, what is the most common success theme that you hear from your radio hosts?
Oh, boy. I think over this past year and a half, as we've instituted not only the training and the social media push, it just comes back to we have the best package. We had a gentleman that was considering one of the large internet radio shows, the very largest, and we are considerably less in cost. And his question was, do we do the same? Do we cover the same issues? And the answer was, well, yes. And not only the same issues, we've extended the training, and at 2/3 less the cost, it fits perfectly with his business strategy and how he wants to monetize his show. So, coming back to the customer service, and we just hear that time in and time out, week in, week out, that we're just providing the best service. It's hard to describe that. Every company wants to stand for quality product and customer service, but how do we really communicate that we're the best customer service? Well, we let our host, like you, Sandra, or Kimberly, be able to express that, because I'm the marketing guy. I'm the sales guy. I'm the guy trying to talk them into something. But when they hear it from our host, and I'll give someone a dozen references, call any of them, ask them how we take care of the glitches when the phone is pulled off the wall, and how do we handle that, and how do we take care of their show. You ladies are the ones that we have the opportunity to turn to say, how are we doing this week? How did we do last week? And are we at that quality level that you're wanting, and provides the best programming for your dollar out there? So, yes.
Kimberly, what would you say is, we're getting kind of near to the end of the show. What would you say is the biggest impact internet radio has done on your business?
I think, honestly, the biggest impact it's made on my business is allowed me not to have to do the heavy lifting to create a bigger impact in the world. So what does that mean? I have a 5-day-a-week run. I'm one of those crazies. Scott was talking about people wanting, 1 day a week or 1 day every other week. I went to 5 days a week. I contracted that within 6 months of my premiere show. And you would think that it just would make my world even more, crazed. It actually has made my world a lot more simplified, because I have a bigger reach. And we're actually now spinning off specific shows in different directions for that purpose. What I look at is I have more free time. I have more leisure. I have more income. I have more global reach. I have greater impact. I'm getting the opportunity to step outside of that comfort zone and really reap the rewards that honestly, I'm not going to say I never thought possible, but I thought I would have to work a lot harder to get there.
Interesting. I have a completely different take on some of this, Kimberly and Scott. You guys both know me personally, so you'll get this. After being fired from a variety of corporate jobs and
Not
positions,
you. Come on,
not
Sandra.
me, not me. For speaking my mind, I can be cranky, I can be funny, I can be blunt, I can be irreverent, and I can be insightful. And the cool thing about being me is, I may not fit in the corporate arena and the HR departments pull their hair out with people like me. But the fact of the matter is, if you find me because of my internet radio presence, you know what you're getting. There's no surprise. You may look at a piece of paper and go, oh, she's a Northwestern graduate. She's a this, she's a that, she's a this, she's a that. And then you come and you get this country girl who just says it like it is. There's no surprise there. So I find that I not only convert, but I retain clients a lot longer because they get it. They know they're going to get a cranky, ex-programming tech person to teach them to do business because she happens to have a master's in business. And, that's what you get.
That's, I have to be laughing, but that was my question. When I came on board, okay, what's the life of a radio show? I mean, how long is it going to last? 2 years, 3 years? Well, Sandra, you're that good example of, because you say it like it is, 5-year run, and you have more to say because there's more to talk about. You've learned that much more. So there's really no end for a show. It can go because you've got the podcast. We've got our servers full of content. We can continue to push that and allow those messages to go further and further, and that's a huge benefit to people. So,
well, and that's the thing about it, Scott, is that it's talk radio. You're not a college professor. You're not out there giving a soliloquy, in front of 2,000 people, dripping and waiting on your every word. It's talk radio. So it's fun. It's, a conversation between two people. You can bring a guest on. You can bring a co-host on. I like to do my shows with co-hosts. Kimberly doesn't necessarily use co-hosts. It's like whatever floats your boat, but you get to be yourself. And as an entrepreneur, a coach, a speaker, any of these things, when you get to be yourself, work is really easy because people ultimately choose you to handle whatever it is you're good at. And if you're yourself and you can be yourself, and internet radio allows you to do that, you can shine because nobody does you better than you.
That's right. And what ends up happening is you magnetize people, as you said, who are going to convert and stay with you because they get you. They completely get you. On a personal note, and you were talking about this, Sandra, in the beginning, most of my shows are done in pajamas and bunny slippers and the occasional tiara. My husband laughs because I now order lots of really cute pajamas. They are my work uniform. I don't get dressed until 2 p.m. That's kind of a nice thing.
Okay,
I'm not dressed right now. I'm sitting. No, I'm just kidding.
As I'm sitting here as the guy between you two beautiful women, and Sandra and Kimberly, your hair looks great today. Yes, we can be ourselves, and that's what people connect with. Today we want realism. We want people to be real, and that's how we relate to them. Slicked, polished, sterilized is not what's selling out there. So people can be a host can be who they are and bring on the people they want to bring on and find a way of making money that supports their habits, their lifestyle, their dress uniform, and have a great time interacting with folks. It's absolutely phenomenal what we're hearing of providing and seeing what people are doing out there.
Okay, well, I'm going to step in because I am the host, and I am going to kick you guys off because we are at the end of our show today. I want to thank Scott Frazier from TogiNet Radio. You can look him up online, TOGINET.com. It's a great company. You want to check them out. You can check out Kimberly Rinaldi. You can just Google her name. That's the beauty of internet radio. Guess what? We can all be found. You can Google me, Sandra Beck. Tell me you like me, hate me, whatever it is. I will enjoy reading what you have to say. For Coach Talk Radio, I thank you for listening. I wish you guys the best. You want to make money. You want to increase your leads. You want to network. You want to be able to say no to people asking you to do things. That's pretty darn cool. Internet radio is the way to go. We'll be back next week with another episode of Coach Talk Radio. This is Sandra Beck signing off.
Thank you for listening. On behalf of Sandra Beck and Scott Frazier, we want you to get out there today to make more money with less time and effort so you can live the life you want. Tune in next week for more tips, tricks, and techniques from Coach Talk Radio.